Have you found yourself in a state of simply wanting more for yourself or just wanting a better life? Well, that's in fact your higher self talking to you and through you. You see, just like the greater cosmos, we live in our physical body through this great energetic pulses that is in constant motion and in harmony with our energetic field, or should I say our subtle bodies around us, constantly working in harmony together with us to basically create our reality. Now, we are going to focus on attracting your greatest reality today. So, how can we do that? You first and foremost need to, in fact, fully connect with your energetic frequencies around you. First, you have the initial thought, which is in correlation to your mental body. Next, you respond with those thought forms with your emotional frequency. Do you feel a great expression of joy? Do you feel a great expression of bliss? Or do you feel a great expression of sadness or hurt or pain? You see, every single experience that we in fact have is us creating our reality. So the greater cosmos is in fact showing us this holographic, should I say, not just universe, but multi-universes. And so we have to understand that within our physical body, it's just like the greater cosmos, the ethers, the akasha, whatever you want to call it. So you might say, yes, I have a heart, I have a brain, but do you recognize that it's through this, just like the cosmic reality out there, it's really these great excitations of energetic frequency pulsating throughout your body that creates every experience and, should I say, your reality. So first and foremost, you're wanting to have a better life. You're wanting to create your greatest reality. But how do you do that? You must first get in tune, like I always say, with your mental and emotional body in order to co-create, not just with yourself, but with source and the greater universe. So those excitations that you send out through pulses through your energetic system is exactly the reality that you're gonna create. So understand on a day-to-day basis, your reality is being created. So you could even first focus on the little things like, wow, maybe you're trying to, maybe you want to just have a certain hairstyle. I'm going to use a simple fact. Us ladies, we like to get our hair done neatly, groomed, and, maybe you're trying to say like, wow, I want to braid my hair in this particular braid. Maybe you want to go, if you remember Janet Jackson back in the day, she always used to have those big Cleopatra braids that just, it created this unique expression of her. And here you are maybe saying like, wow, I don't know any braiders. In fact, maybe just within my budget, I haven't, even seen anybody who could probably do those braids. But maybe that certain day, you're just envisioning like, wow, I'm gonna get those braids. Maybe you have a time frame. You maybe have to go to some event, maybe a wedding, and it's in a week, and you say, I need to find a hairdresser or a hair braider to get those Cleopatra braids. So you first have that thought form, but you have to recognize the emotions have to go along with it. You have to get excited. You have to envision seeing yourself with those hair braids, those Cleopatra looking hair braids. And then, of course, the final thing, which we always said that most people do, every single thing that you do, you're basically taking action. Whether you decide to just sit down on that thought form and just not do anything about it, or go ahead. Maybe you start using famous Google search, and boom, you actually find people, maybe not exactly in your neighborhood, but somebody within 30 minutes. And you start looking up that person, maybe it's their social media, you start saying, wow, that person is actually promoting themselves by giving that exact hairstyle. Now, maybe your budget to do that braids was $100, because you know braiding can get expensive. A lot of people could charge maybe $200 to $300. And you see that, wow, this person actually have a special going on right now where that person is actually charging exactly $100. So there you are, you have actually created that reality where you first had that thought form within that specific time. You had the excited emotions, you envisioned yourself with those beautiful Cleopatra looking braids, and then you took that action, and of course, you created that reality of having not just a braider, but setting up the appointment, braiding your hair, and having your wonderful, beautiful Cleopatra braids for the day. So we see such small examples on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes you may not even have to try that hard. There's certain, as we may call it, when it comes to just manifesting certain realities, you will see that you may not even have to try that hard. For example, last week, I wanted like a particular plant protein powder, and based on my needs of what I was looking for, I told myself, like, man, what I've seen so far, that's not what I'm really looking for. But I think just being excited about maybe eventually having that plant protein that meets the needs of my body, I would have eventually found it. And then, you know what? I didn't even have to search. That exact plant protein powder that I needed just popped up on my feed. And there you go. I took the initiatory action of just going out and purchasing it. And then within a week, I now have my plant protein powder to enjoy. So you see, there are simple ways of creating your reality. But we may also have this massive attracting of certain realities that we may want. For example, a lot of people, you may want to attract a certain career. You may want to attract a certain relationship. You may want to attract maybe just your own status in life. Maybe it's based on the caliber of money that you want to make, or your social status, whatever it is. You may want to have a new car, or a home, or live in a new city, a new neighborhood. And then you tell yourself, like, wow, so far I've been trying and I've just not been succeeding in attracting that certain reality that I have. Now, the first thing that you must realize is sometimes we have to recognize that there is such a thing called divine timing. Now, the word divine really meaning connecting with source, the creator, God. So we know that we live in this dimension, this third dimension, where everything is based on time. And sometimes we may be so impatient at birthing certain realities or creating certain realities. So you may say, man, I've been trying this for, like, let's just say a year, and in your time frame, a year is just way too long in creating that reality. But you have to recognize, as long as you're doing the groundwork, like I say, focusing on that energetic frequency that you have and calling it in. You see, a lot of it have to do with reprogramming your subconscious mind. We actually have the conscious mind in which we actually go out and do things. I would call the conscious mind more the masculine aspect of it, and the subconscious, which is more like the feminine. What is your internal frequency? Let's say you say, oh, I want this, new Mercedes Benz car, and it costs a certain thing, and you're like, yeah, I've saved money, but I just cannot seem to actually create that reality for myself. In fact, I'm not even seeing those Mercedes Benz car. Maybe a person like me within my social status, who am I to think that I could actually go ahead and purchase and drive that Mercedes Benz car? You see, that is your subconscious mind creating that frequency that, okay, I could never have this Mercedes Benz car because it has never worked out in the past for me. You have to work on a day-to-day basis of saying it is always possible. Your higher self is pushing you to tell you that, hey, we now are, as we connect with the cosmos, seeing that we have this greatest version of ourselves, that we are on multiple different levels of having different realities, and your higher self is just that higher self, or should I say, like, almost like if you want to look at God or the creator and say it's that version of yourself, just like the creator, who knows that any stage of existence is really infinite. So this is that part of yourself pushing you. Your higher self is almost like your future self. You ever feel like you just have all these dreams, all of these goals, all of these, imaginative thoughts that, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to experience in my life. So this is within your present self, pushing you into that future state to say, this is the actual reality that you can birth. But you have to tap into your energetic bodies, your energetic frequency, and most of all, tap into your subconscious mind, which is that mindset, that your internal reality that's saying like, wow, I have never actually been able to create that reality in the past. Look, I've been trying for so long, but I just can't seem to birth it into my reality. This is you constantly reprogramming and retraining your mind to say like, wow, I'm gonna get that reality eventually, sooner or later. So when I mentioned about divine timing, what I want to actually go into is that we have to realize, like, the energetic frequency around us is connected to multi-universes, or should I say the cosmic Akashic world or field, quantum field. And this is where the astrological alignments, or should I say astronomical alignments, happening in the greater cosmos affects our day-to-day life. So I know many of you are aware of Mercury retrograde, which we just came out of in the sign of Cancer, which usually lasts for about 6 weeks. But if you know astrology, you will know that there's like the pre-retrograde phase and the after effects of the retrograde phase, which is usually 3 weeks before, 3 weeks after. So it's actually a total of 3 months, should I say 12 weeks. But most people, just with everything going on, they always equate it to, oh, okay, or technology is gonna be affected, certain, traveling is gonna be delayed. And so many people can relate when it comes to dealing with Mercury retrograde. But do you recognize that, wow, we are so fully connected to the stars? So for example, you may hear that, okay, this star of Algol just went maybe into the sign of Capricorn, and maybe during this time frame it could last for, sometimes up to a year, maybe 2 weeks, maybe like a week. And you're saying like, based on just knowing astrology, you know that Algol is just this certain transit that you have to put in the work. It's a difficult placement that you have to get through. In Capricorn, it's all about the groundwork that you put in. Capricorn connecting to Saturn, which is all about putting in that hard work, being disciplined, and getting the results. So we see that sometimes we're doing the groundwork, like I said, following the protocol of all the energetic frequencies and the actions that we have to take. But because of certain placements going on, like I mentioned, the Mercury retrograde and what could happen, you have to recognize that the cosmos is shifting, and maybe it's not that nothing is happening. The frequencies are out there, but it might just take a longer time because of the certain transits or aspects that's going on astronomically and astrologically. You may see like, wow, certain transits may come in, like anytime there's like a Jupiter transit, that's a fortunate transit where you may see like stuff happen. You get expanded on such a greater level, and then it may happen like fast, like wow, such a fast space. So we cannot conform to earthly time and forget about divine timing. So I say all of that to show you like, wow, you may have taken 3 years to actually go ahead and get that Mercedes-Benz car that you've been trying to get. But maybe it was because of those placements astrologically and astronomically that was happening that it took you a longer time. So this is where I'm telling you to refocus your mindset, especially in your subconscious mindset, to see you are in constant flow of attracting your reality. So let's look at some examples. You know, you might say like, I remember growing up, and in my early years living with my grandparents and my mother, and in our yard we had this cherry tree. Now that was the cherry tree of the neighborhood where, we as children, especially when the cherry is in season, we would like climbing up that tree. And I remember our cherry tree was so unique that when you climbed it up, it had this space in the center of it where it was spread apart with the leaves. But in the center of it, you could just sit there and relax and just sunbathe, which I love doing. Maybe at the time I could have been 5, 6, 7 years old. And, the cherries, the tropical cherries is just something that I enjoy. So let's say today I decide like, wow, I want to grow a beautiful cherry tree because, that was just my favorite childhood cherry tree that created so many beautiful memories of not just having these beautiful, succulent, juicy cherries, but just the experience of connecting with the sun even at that young age and just having so much fun, and it being this thing in my community that brought so many of us kids together. So I may go out and I may get the cherry seed. I may decide like, okay, let's say I have a home and I have a backyard, and of course I plant it in my backyard. I'm giving it everything that it needs, watering it, making sure it has sunlight, giving it, the certain plant food that it needs to grow. But the cherry tree may sprout out after maybe I would say 6 weeks. Keep in mind that we have to focus on also the moon cycles, which affects the planting season as well. And then I may say like, wow, a year has passed, the cherry tree has grown to a certain height, and wow, why is it not blooming with cherries? Now I may go out and study about, the time frame of it. 2 years pass and still no cherry. But then the third year, magnificently. It blooms so much beautiful cherries, and there I have to enjoy my cherries. So that goes to show timing is a factor in everything. We place so much time on wanting certain things, but there's also, we can put in the ground with it, but there's also certain things, the other factors that affects, birthing that certain reality. Like I said, moon cycles, astrological alignments, and you name it. We can go on to say a mother giving birth. She first gets pregnant with that baby. It takes roughly 9 to 10 months for her to actually birth that baby and have that beautiful baby. We can even go on to the greater cosmos and see that galaxies in earthly time take billions of years to actually be finalized into being called a galaxy. So that's just to show that when you're trying to attract anything, the greatest expression of yourself in this life, you have to recognize that you have to have patience with yourself. And I'm asking you to simply trust the process sometimes. As long as you're doing the groundwork, you know that eventually you will be able to create the reality, your greatest form of your reality that you want to create. So always remember that you may look at other people and you may say like, wow, we always tend to go in this state of comparison, like this took this person this long, or this person may have been able to create that reality at a faster pace. But understand that, like I said, each person have to recognize that everything will align in divine timing as long as you're putting in the groundwork. It's not just saying that, yes, I'm gonna try to do this, but like I said, it first has to start with your energetic frequency in your mental and your emotional body, and tapping into your subconscious mind and removing any of those programming thoughts that you cannot have what you want to birth into your reality. Like I said, there's some of it that you may call it effortless, like I stated before when I wanted that certain plant protein powder. But there's other bigger realities that you want to create. Like I said, using that example of getting a Mercedes Benz, maybe it could be a house. Maybe it could just be achieving a certain status, or should I say monetary bracket that you want to achieve in your life, and you're saying, wow, it's taking a longer time. So don't go into the comparison game. You focus on what you're doing and understand that each person has to recognize that divine timing is always in effect. By divine timing, I mean the greater cosmos timing. So let's stop playing that comparison game. So understand that everything is always in the works on an energetic level. You see, many people do not connect their bodily system on a day-to-day basis. You don't even recognize the effortless breathing that you're creating is just about the energy flow within your internal body system. Your blood spreading throughout your body and pumping it to your heart, pumping it to your brain. It's all these electric pulses going through your body and connecting with certain frequencies that allows this to happen. So please understand that you have to have a lot of patience with yourselves. Know that you're doing the work on a day-to-day basis, and it involves so much of just connecting with your frequency internally, your energetic frequency internally, to be able to create your reality. Some may have massive earthly projects that they may say like, wow, it's just like feeling like it has not been able to get on the groundwork. But trust and believe. You put in the groundwork, you take the necessary action, and you also, just like the ancients did, they followed the astronomical and astrological alignments. Those play a huge factor in birthing certain realities. So, understand that you must trust the process. You must have patience with yourself. And you must, in fact, trust the process in order to birth your greatest reality.